Hello Bournemouth fans and welcome to Cherries Red Army YouTube channel and this latest feature video where we're going to try and predict the best AFC Bournemouth starting 11 the Eddie Howe years. What we're going to try and do is choose a team that can take on any team in the world, and I'm going to have some guests on. There's going to be 11 episodes to build that starting 11 and we'll go through it, have a bit of fun, and we'd love to know what you think in the comments as well. Firstly, though, thank you to everyone who's currently subscribed to this channel, and we did reach 450. So whoever's new to this channel, thank you very much, and do get involved on these videos. But we're going to get our guests on. We're going to go through this feature so you understand what we're talking and what we're going on about. So let's get into it. So I've got Dan with me. How are you doing, Dan?
I was good. I wasn't ready for that really dramatic intro there. I was quite taken aback there. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, mate.
Do you know what? It's going to be a new season very soon. So I've freshed the channel up with some new features, and we've got Steve as well with us. How you doing, Steve?
I'm all right, mate. Not too bad, apart from the eye.
I was going to say, not quite Halloween yet, but a nice shiner there.
Yeah, had a fight with a football and lost.
Okay, so we've had a talk pre-show about what we're going to try and do here. Let's have a look at the rules. The rules seem a bit harsh, but what we're trying to create with this feature. So basically, we're going to try and build a squad for a team of players that have either played for Eddie Howe or been signed by Eddie Howe. Going to debate selected players. So we're going to narrow it down to 3 or 4, create the best 11, build a 4-4-2 formation, chosen players per position based on loyalty, leadership, commitment, and stats. Collectively, we'll choose one to take that position. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. Yeah.
And there are going to be a lot of players that are going to miss out on this. And as the episodes go on, we're just going to have to just do our best to narrow it down to the ones that we want.
Write in the comments and say whoever you want.
Exactly. And we're not going to make everyone happy. We appreciate there's going to be players that you're going to hope to be in this final 11 that are going to miss out. But just bear with us. And we're going to look at the goalkeepers. And we've narrowed it down to 3. We've gone with Aaron Ramsdale, Asmir Begovic, and Artur Boruc. So those are going to be the 3 that we're going to debate today. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little wheel sort of decider. So, Dan, I'm going to choose you first. Let's see who you're going to get.
Oh,
it's
Aaron Ramsdale. Okay, I feel that.
Aaron Ramsdale. So let's take a bit of a deeper look at Aaron Ramsdale. But your initial thoughts on that, Dan, when that ticked round to Aaron Ramsdale?
I thought it was going to be Asmir for a bit, but yeah, it was so annoying that we weren't able to keep him. I loved him because he felt like a future captain. Because I remember he came out when we got relegated and did an interview when he didn't need to, things like that. Was our player of the season, and not an AFC Bournemouth legend. He would have maybe if he'd stayed, but definitely a top player for us.
So we signed Aaron Ramsdale in 2017, stayed for 3 seasons. He had a few loans, as we know, went out and kept Wimbledon in the Football League. 37 league games in that final season with AFC Bournemouth. Like you said, Dan, supporters player of the season, 2019-2020. And if we go back, I think he signed for something like 900,000 quid.
It's not bad then, is it? What's that? We signed him for 18 million, wasn't it? Am I remembering that correctly? So, yeah, not bad. About business.
Now, let me just think back here, actually. That was 36 league games, 37 league games he played. And Steve come in as well, if you know the answer. But did he miss out on the first league game and come in on the second league game? I'm just wondering who may have started that first game. I mean, was it potentially Boruc? Because it would have been the 2019-2020 season.
Yeah.
Not sure.
I couldn't tell.
Was it definitely? We don't know that it was definitely the first game, do we? Might just have missed one game during the season.
No, but that'd be interesting. If you know that in the comments, let us know who the goalkeeper was that played that other Premier League game, because apart from that, Ramsdale stood in there. Any games that come to mind, Dan, with that season? I know we got relegated, but he was voted players or supporters player of the season. I mean, I remember that was that game, and I want to say it was Brighton where he made that point blank save, and we ended up going to win the game, but it was 0-0 at the time. But there were so many moments in that season when he did save us and gave us a chance to potentially stay up.
Yeah, I'm really terrible when it comes to narrowing down individual performances. I just remember things as a collective. So I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head any individual performances. But I as you said, I consistently remember him, similar to Begovic we've gone to, him saving us in a lot of games, making some really, really crucial saves. And he had, for such a young player, he had that real leadership, which is I'm sure he's in England side at the moment, isn't he, because of the injuries, which fair play to him. It shows how good he is and how good he was for us. He made some absolute cracking saves, and it would consistently be a contender for man of the match. And yeah, he came back with after the what was it, Project Restart with the trim, the buzz cut. Loved that, and I think he was, from what I understand, he sort of he brought a good morale to the team as well. He seemed like a really nice guy, brought leadership, brought passion, brought all of that, which is really what you want with the goalkeeper. It's a weird one, goalkeeper, because we were sort of speaking this before we started recording. You don't really remember performances too much unless they make a terrible mistake, or you sort of remember it more as a collective, how they did. Especially when it hasn't just been the season. Like with Begovic, we can probably narrow down some performances more, but past that, you just don't remember it as much. But yeah, definitely made some great saves and had some great performances.
Just going back on what Dan said about his passion, which I thought was brilliant. And there was that one game we were going about when he missed, when he was in the crowd, wasn't there?
Yes.
Was that a cup? Yes. Was that a cup game?
I'm not sure, but he was in the north stand. He was a few rows away from me, actually.
Because he was in there, wasn't it? Yeah, no, you don't get that from a lot of players, do you?
No, you're absolutely right.
I think Ollie McBurney did it, I think, at Swansea, wasn't it? And Aaron Ramsdale for us. But that could have been the game he missed. I can't remember. But
he was a fan favourite. Right then, Steve, so you're next up. That narrows it down to 2. So you're going to get Asmir Begovic or Artur Boruc. There, spin that wheel again.
Where's the fancy music?
Yeah.
It is Artur Boruc.
Thank God for that.
So he did sign on loan initially, if you remember. Let's go back to that 2014-15 season. Signed on loan from Southampton and was a good loan signing for Eddie Howe.
Absolutely, yeah. He was pivotal in that promotion season. I can remember him making 2 or 3 sort of fingertip flying saves that season. There's a little montage I quite like watching when I need a bit of a pick me up, and there's one hell of a save in that game that he made, just fingertips around the post, and that's what I liked about. He absolutely wore his heart on his sleeve. The only thing about him when we came to the Premier League is, like Dan said, you do tend to remember the mistakes they make, and he did make a few howlers along the way. I seem to remember where he had the rush of blood against Liverpool, didn't he, where he came running out of his box, completely missed it. Divock Origi scored that goal. There was a bit where I think we were talking about this before, Kurt, where I think he tried to do a Cruyff turn against Arsenal, got robbed of the ball, and he'd have moments of madness like that. He would, but some of his shot stopping was exceptional, and for the age of the guy, and how long we got him, he was still. Well, he's still playing now, I believe. I still believe he's playing back in Poland. Is it Poland he's gone back to? Yeah, Legia Warsaw, isn't it? And he's massive character, absolute character. There was obviously that story about when he went up to Celtic Park. Was it Parkhead when he supported Legia Warsaw in a UEFA Cup game, and Eddie Howe was supposed to be at training or something the next day, and he was leading the chants on the terraces the night before. So yeah, he was an absolute character. Loved him to bits. And like I say, he made some hell of a some hell of a
that penalty save, didn't he? Who was it? Was it Ibra? He saved the penalty off, wasn't it?
Well, he made that. Yeah, was it Man United? Yeah, he did.
No, he did. I thought he did. I thought it was against Ibra.
That was the Battle of Old Trafford, wasn't it?
Yeah. I always loved Arthur Borich when he was wasn't making his mistakes. The thing about Arthur Borich is, I would argue he's probably, out of those three, probably the best shot stopper out of all of them. But it was the most frustrating thing is because he had that, but then he didn't really control the box like I think Begovic and Ramsdale do. When a corner comes in, he didn't dominate as well as the other two did. I felt which was so frustrating. Because he's a massive guy as well, which really made no sense. But yeah, that was the only criticism that really annoyed me. If he could have dominated his box a bit more, he would have been the ultimate keeper, I think.
The only couple of things I'd add to that is that he all struggled to take. He couldn't take a goal kick.
Yeah.
Fans used to get on his back when he tried to take a goal kick because Eddie liked to have that right back right on the sideline and he'd always kick it over their head. But then you've got that Liverpool moment. I think it's the celebration you can find everywhere on YouTube and Twitter where he goes down on his knees and I think he faces a south stand and celebrates when that goal goes in against Liverpool. Might have been the winner when Ake scored. But you know what? His best return for us was in that 2016-17 season, 9 clean sheets. And wasn't that the year, Steve, that we had our highest finish in the Premier League of 9th?
Second season, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's obviously fundamental in that position we got to. I just love him because he's such a character. And you sit in the north stand, don't you, Kirk? But when he comes, when he switches heads, I mean, we always used to just get up and we start the old great big pole in our goal sort of chant, and he's turning around and joining in. He was just that kind of guy, and you can't help but like him, even though he would drive you mad at times by some of the silly things he did. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you my decision just yet, but I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for Arthur.
Okay, let's spin that wheel again because I want to make the use of it. It's such a beautiful thing, but who's it going to land on?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's be having your Asmir Begovic, and we'll do this collectively. Now, it's a couple of it's a couple of times that Asmir Begovic has signed for us. First time was only for like 8 games on loan, and then he came back to us in 2017, I think it was. But Dan, obviously, he did have a few loans away, including the one at AC Milan, and everyone probably thought that was the end of his career at AFC Bournemouth. But wow, what a season he had last year, considering we didn't go up.
Yeah, I almost completely forgot we had him, if I'm being honest. And when he went on loan, I think there was a bit of a falling out between him and Eddie, or something along those lines. And then obviously, I know this isn't Eddie Howe wasn't in charge, but he's come back and he's been exceptional. I do feel a bit bad for Travers because he had that one absolute stinker at the start of the season where he made that mistake against Blackburn, and then and he wasn't in favour since, and we put Begovic there. But Begovic has been really, really good this season, and he's proved himself. I'm going to be honest, like Steve was saying before recording, I can't remember a lot from previous seasons. I can't remember individual performances. I can't really remember him playing all that often, but I know he did. Another character. You tend to be these goalkeepers. They really have. They really are characters. Show some real passion. So yeah.
And another goalkeeper, Steve, that, like Dan says, shows passion. Always on Twitter, always giving extra tweets and
he liked my Instagram DM I sent to him actually. Not too long ago. So there you go.
Getting us fans a little bit closer to the club, especially when we've probably been the furthest away we've ever been with COVID. A man that's given us 16 clean sheets this season, over 100 appearances in total. But as I said, I mean, over the season, he's won us so many points. We probably wouldn't have made the playoffs if it wasn't for Asmir Begovic.
No, definitely not. I mean, that's why I picked him as my player of the season, just because we would have been nowhere near the playoffs had it not been for Asmir's saves. He bailed us out of so many holes last season, and he even popped up, like you say, he popped up with assists, didn't he? He got us an assist once. I think it was once, wasn't it? He's a top quality goalkeeper. He's an international, plays for Bosnia. I mean, how old is he now? 35, 34, 35, something like that? Or is he a bit older? But he's still got a few years left in the tank. And, he's a decent shot stopper as well. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's a bit more to his. There's a bit more. I think calmness about him. I think is what I probably would say rather than Boruc. Boruc could be a bit of a, you know. Box. I mean, he was just mad, wasn't he? He's just had moments of madness, but I don't see, apart from the Brentford game where he did.
I was going to say
he did lose his head a bit that game, but generally you don't see him doing anything, really, really silly or making an error. He was pretty dependable the whole way through that season. Going back to the old season again, he can't have. I don't remember too much about those games, but he obviously didn't do too great. And I do remember at the time that Boruc came in for him, I'm pretty sure, and they sort of held the position for till the end of the season. So, and then he went out on his loans, came back, and he's, like Dan said, I didn't think we'd see him again. No. I'm glad we did, because he's proven to us this season, actually, he's a really, really decent keeper.
Yeah, and he was my player of the season. I think he was the Cherries Red Army player of the season when we did our review show of the season. So, right, we've done all the talking we can do then, guys, and you're going to have to just have about a 30-second to a minute think about what you're going to do. And what are you going to do? Who are you thinking right now before we choose that final place? Who's going to take the goalkeeper position in this best AFC Bournemouth team, the Eddie Howe years? Do you know what? I'm going to go first, because I remember when we've done shows like this before and I always end up going last, and it potentially falls on me to make the final decision. So I'm going to go first. And you've made some really good points about all three goalkeepers. They all deserve to take that first spot in the team. But I am going to give it to the big pole in the goal. And I remember that night that we went up. Well, we sort of went up when we beat Bolton and we were secured our place because of our goal difference. And the way he was celebrating in front of us in the North Stand, it was memorable. So, and his 6 years, he's always been a good servant. I am going to choose Artur Boruc. So I'm going to come to Steve. How are you feeling about it, Steve?
Initially, I was thinking. I think of all the keepers, I think Rambo is probably the best. I think if I was going to sort of just say on goalkeeping ability, he's got a lot of years left in him, obviously, so he can only get better in my view. And like Dan said before, I think he's got leadership qualities as well for such a young lad. I think he's going to go on to big things. But having said that, I'm going to go with you though, with Kirk. It's purely sentiment. You could say he is a bit of a nutcase, a bit of a character, but he's definitely provided much entertainment and some good memories. And his 6 years, like you say, it's we've only had one good season from Asmir. So yeah, Boruc for me.
Do you know, I should have gone with you first, Dan, because he actually sort of told us he was going to go for Boruc.
Yeah, I was thinking that. So it's pointless now, isn't it?
Big question for you, then. Are you going to give it a clean sweep, or are you going to stick up for Rambo and Begovic and give them a shout?
It's difficult. I think that I've eliminated Begovic just on the basis that when Eddie Howe was manager, he had his best season when Eddie Howe wasn't manager. So I think I'm going to eliminate Begovic for that reason. But it's very, very difficult because I'm with Stephen in the sense that I think Ramsdale is a better goalkeeper, but it's just the years Artur Boruc has been with us that it's hard not to go with him. So I'm going to clean sweep it. I'm going to go with Artur Boruc.
Let's look at our first lineup of this best 11, the Eddie Howe years. There he is. Artur Boruc takes his place in goal in this squad. And are you guys looking forward to how this squad might may look as
I've got a funny feeling how it might unfold.
It's going to win the Champions League. This team plays, and everyone in their prime. This is winning the Champions League.
I bet this ends up looking like the Championship winning season side.
That's interesting. There we go. So Artur Boruc takes his place. And just before we sort of wrap up this first episode then, I mean, is there a few mentions for any goalkeepers that weren't contenders, Steve?
Yeah, I think you've got to have a shout out to I've lost his name now. Who Begovic came in and replaced. Camp. Sorry, Lee Camp.
Lee Camp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to have a mention. Decent keeper, but I think he was always sort of a bit of a journeyman keeper, isn't he? Always sort
a
of
lot of football clubs. A lot of football
clubs.
He
was always sort of League One, Championship, lower league, lower level of Championship. And when we brought in Boric, you didn't notice a change, but he still did he got promotion with us, so he deserves a mention from League One. Benji Bouchel, obviously. Yes, I can't not have Benji. He had big fat 0 appearances.
I think he had a few cup. I'm not sure.
I mean, there's been a few. I mean, Daryl Flahaven. I don't know if he was one of Eddie's signings though. David James obviously popped up for a little bit. I don't know if he was Eddie's either.
Yeah.
Swan Jalal, obviously got a promotion with us as well out of League Two. So yeah, there's a few honourable mentions, but I think we've the quality of football's obviously got better as we've gone up the leagues, and those 3 keepers were the pinnacle of that climb.
And just one more there, Dan. Rocky Ryan Allsop actually promoted as the first team goalkeeper in League One, but when he got to the Championship, he sort of struggled. I thought he would develop into a really good goalkeeper, but then I think Lee Camp came in, like Steve said, and Rocky Ryan Allsop's always been sort of playing second fiddle, even at Wickham at the end, and I think he's just been released. But Rocky Ryan Allsop.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said these keepers that Steve's talking about, I'm like 10 at this point, so I've got no real sort of recollection of these keepers, especially ones that got 0 appearances. I've got even less of an idea.
He was a member of the coffee club, the famous coffee club with Mark Pugh and Sean McDonald.
Mr. Coffee.
Yeah. So Rocky, the thing with Rocky, I always felt he had a real bit of a confidence problem. I always felt he always seemed to have a little blunder in him, and then he wouldn't play for a little while, and then never really settled into the team. One thing I remember about him was he was the goalkeeper when we had the 3-3 with Everton, wasn't he? Do you remember they scored and ran off to the corner, and it literally went through his legs, and it was right at the end, and I thought, oh no, not another one for his confidence. But luckily Stan came up and scored the equaliser, so it wasn't so bad. But yeah, decent enough keeper, just never really got to that extra mile where we thought he would.
No. Back on it then. Happy with our decision then, guys. It's quite a nice one for the first episode. There we have it. Artur Boric is goalkeeper for this best 11. And let us know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Would you have rather have had Rambo or Begovic? Let us know. And if there's any other goalkeepers we've missed, give them a mention. But Dan, thanks for joining us on episode 1. I'm sure you're going to be on many episodes as we build this starting 11.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Cheers for having me on. And
Steve, hope that eye gets better and you're back to yourself very soon. But thanks for joining us on this one as well.
No worries. Good to see you, boys.
Make sure you keep up with the content, hit that notification bell to be notified when new content is out. We're looking to bring you live streams when news breaks inside AFC Bournemouth, and check out more of these episodes as they go through and get involved and let us know your comments. But until the next video from me, Steve and Dan, we'll see you soon. Up the cherries.